This is the video review for Transformers Dark of the Moon Leader Class Ironhide. This is a pretty nice figure. The truck mode rolls very well, although if you look under here, there's not much clearance on these back wheels. On a flat surface it's not a big deal, but on any kind of rough terrain, it's not really going to roll. Now, I do want to mention that the surface I'm on is a little bit curved, so that is why it's not quite sitting flat. Normally it sits flat very well, so for anyone who has OCD like I do, where that's an issue, it's not really an issue on this figure, it's just the surface I'm on. Now in this mode, he has access to two guns, and you deploy those by pulling back on the smokestacks, and those are pretty neat, although I like this gun the least, and I'll show you why. After you put them away, if you'll notice that hanging down, yeah, that's a bit of a problem even in robot mode. But otherwise, very nice truck mode. The only flaw to how it fits together is this side of the windshield. There's a bit of a crack right there. It won't go down all the way, and I don't know why. But for the most part, since it's a dark plastic, it's not that noticeable. It still bugs the hell out of me with my OCD, but when I don't think about it, I don't think about it. Now to transform it, what you'll do is you'll start out by pulling this out, and then pulling this up, and then you will grab back here on the socket for the ball joint and press forward on that and bring it around and plug it into the chest. You have to hold on to the ball socket, or else the part will come out of the socket because it's not in very well. And then leave these wheels out and these parts back for now. Next, what you will do is you will split open these side pieces, and then you'll fold down the legs a little bit, fold in this little piece here, split apart the legs, turn them around 180, and bring them down. Now we're starting to get a robot mode. Now, you can see it's most of the way formed. All that we have left to do are the arms, which are back here. Pull them out, bring them up, and they will snap into his shoulders right there. Bring them down, rotate forward, fold in this flap here, and then it will peg into a little hole on his underarm. Do the same thing on this side. Pull it out, rotate it up, tab it in, rotate his arms down, fold this in, and tab it into his forearm. Now we fold in these wheels, fold those down, and then all we have left to do is deal with his back kibble. And the way that's done is you peg his windshield into his back, and then fold this piece over the windshield. And that gives you Dark of the Moon Leader Class Ironhide. It's a pretty simple but very effective transformation. It's fun and not frustrating to do. I like it quite a bit. Now for the robot mode, this is where the figure is coolest as far as design, but its articulation is kind of weak, and maybe this is just on mine, but his joints are kind of loose too. Like these ratchets here, super loose. They sound clicky, but they don't really hold the figure, and they don't really hold the arms up that well. So weak in the shoulders. That's really the big problem I have with mine. I don't know if that's just on mine or if that's on all of them. I haven't really asked very much. So keep that in mind if you get this figure. It may not be a problem, but it might. So as far as articulation, he goes forward and back, although it's at an angle like this, so the arm will stay out of the way of the tire. He has a bicep swivel, and a forearm swivel, and an elbow that goes 90 degrees. And I like the way these arms are jointed because somehow they're kind of expressive in how they work. It's hard to describe why, just somehow they do, where they go seems very natural, although they are somewhat limited by the tires here. So if the tires could go into the chest more, that would have made the arms a lot better. You know, they are pretty good already. The head turns left and right, although there have been reports of many Ironhide figures having the head glued into place. Not all, but many. Mine was glued into place, and what I did is I just took my fingers and I just kept twisting it back and forth until it popped off the glue. Of course, the problem that led to is that the head started coming out of its it's just a little clip like this that the head sort of sticks into like that, and it doesn't stay in very well. So what I ended up doing is, you'll also notice mine doesn't have the face mask. That's because I cut the face mask out, but I left in the lever back here, and I glued the lever into place. And that's because the lever ends up gripping behind the part that holds the head in place. So what's keeping the head in place is that lever on mine. Now, of course, that does mean I've taken the electronics out, and not only that, but I've ripped some of them out of the head, just because I don't care about electronics. Now, as far as the legs they're pretty limited. I mean, just going forward, back. I think you can only go this far back because of this plate here. But they can go forward, not limited. They can go out, not limited. But the knee, that's as far as you get. They don't go all the way straight. And they're just not, they don't have as much range as they should. Especially this leg, because normally there's some plastic right here that makes you only get 2 clicks on that leg instead of the final third. And unless you're willing to modify your figure like I did and just cutting away the plastic that's intruding on that joint, that's a big problem and a reason not to get this figure. Then you also have a thigh swivel, and then his feet can swivel side to side like this. He has a little bit of toe movement, and his feet can go forward and back. His feet are nice, but just those knees are really what hamper this figure's articulation. And it's not really something that you can overcome easily because this guy's kind of top heavy too. And even though his feet have quite a bit of range, it's not sufficient. It's more, in some ways, more for show than for actual use, and that's a bit of a problem too. Now, as far as gimmicks, this guy actually has a fair number, and some people argue that these gimmicks are why this figure suffers. And, well, I'll just show them. First, you can press down on this lever up here. That'll push out his gut cannon. You can also pull it out from here. And some people argue that that cannon causes these wheels from going in further. I can see where they're going, but again, the wheels up here aren't that big of an issue because the arms, except for the shoulder being loose, are fine. Now, where it gets interesting is that people complain about the knees not being able to bend that much, and that's because there's some storage gimmicks in his legs. So if you fold out here, you get a sword. And I like that. I think that that side is kind of worth the limitations to articulation, just because it's a nice sword, and it's a really nice storage gimmick. Well, not a sword, a knife, a combat knife. And I like the knife. It gives Ironhide a lot of character, and it looks good. But also, that's on the leg that was not limited. Well, it's still limited, but not limited as much. It's the more free-moving knee. On this knee, what caused the plastic back here is, and that prevented the knee from bending like this, was a missile gimmick where you pull this out, and then a dinky little missile, and then a dinky little missile comes out. I'm not sure that was on camera, so I'll just show it again. Pull this out, and the missile swings forward. A very tiny missile, a very ineffectual looking missile. Yeah, like I said, this guy's top heavy. A very ineffectual looking missile. And for the most part, it's just not worth how it limited the knee, even though I was able to fix it. Just not worth it. It's not. I would prefer 2 knives. So, the legs, I can definitely see where people are coming from with how they're limited. And with the arms, you've already seen the this gimmick before in truck mode, but if you pull back on the smokestacks, you get weapons in here. And this is another place where a gimmick that's cool, and I like it, does get in the way of something, because if you will notice, on the arms he has these big flaps of truck mode kibble. Conceivably, if Ironhide didn't have these cannons here, this stuff may have been able to fold in a lot better. Now, I don't know, I mean, I can stand those arm flaps. They're not that big of a deal because they don't get in the way and they stay in place pretty well, but I can definitely see where people are coming with that. So, for the most part, I like this figure, and his gimmicks are cool, except for this dinky little missile. But I can see why some people don't like this figure, despite being a very nice sculpt, very nice truck, very nice transformation. He is loaded down with just a few too many gimmicks. And that's all. If you like what you see, I recommend getting him. If something about this just really disgusts you, don't get it, because I see exactly why some people don't like this. And that's all. Thanks for watching.